Hi, welcome back to Forensics. Today we're going to look at different forensic formats, a little bit of bulk extractor, foremost, and a touch on data analysis. So as we extract different formats and we create raw files and we pull the information out of it, how do we actually go through and process that stuff? So let's go ahead and get started and look at an overview of what we're going to do. So in here we've got a couple of different drives. So these are all drives collected from, we'll say, suspect houses or just evidence in some sort. Now, most of these are E01, which are expert witness formats. But we do have advanced forensic format, AFF, right there. So we need to be able to install the tools necessary, which get the ewf-tools and the AFF-tools libraries, and then process these files. So let's go ahead and start the processing. We're going to say that we already have the tools installed, and we're going to start processing. Just in case you're joining us and you don't have the tools, I actually probably should put those on there. So if you want to get those tools, there's the tools right there. I'm going to go ahead and leave that on the screen, and I'll make this a little bit larger so we can see a little bit better. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to convert the first one, AFF, there, and you'll see that we've got an AFF with the drive 03 clampet right there. So we're going to just do an AFF. We're going to convert it to a raw image, and we're going to go, well, let's see how long that thing takes. I'm going to put a time in front of it. And it's going to run through and it's going to convert that over. All right, well, great. Now, if I look at this file, we now have the raw file. Now, what's the advantage of using AFF over a raw file? Well, first advantage is the size. If you look at that, that's a gig, and this is only 82 meg. So all that space, anything that's not used, and it does take in consideration slack space and other things. Anything that's not used, though, it's not gonna look at that. Or you can just wipe out slack space, whatever you want to do with it. But another thing we can do is get info from it. So we can do it AFF info and grab that drive right there and press enter, and it will give us information about the drive. So you can look at that. There's a bad sector. It was untitled, Windows 7, and all kinds of information right there. Well, let's go ahead and restore the EWF file, which is going to be a little more difficult. So let's go ahead and look over here. We have this ADP E01 expert witness. So we're going to take this file. A couple of things we're going to need is we're going to need to tell it where to start on kind of what sector. We're going to need to tell it, what it needs to do as far as an offset. We need to tell it, as far as the byte limitation on there, the format we want to use, which is a raw format, and then the target we want it to be, which is actually the name without the dot, E01 right there. So just that target like that. So we do that and we press enter. Well, I'll put time in front of it, see how long it takes. So it says, hey, this could take a while. Now, once again, we look at this, and now we have this drive 1 ADP raw. Now, this actually put out an info file, which is pretty neat. We can do that too in the others. It gives you MD5 string right there. And then you've got the raw file, which is 123 meg. That's increased from 1.1 meg. So that's substantial. But just like AFF, the EWF has an info function too. So we can go over and grab this, and we can look at it, and we can see kind of who took this image. I think we can. Yeah, there we go. Examiner name. We have Buddy T, evidence number, and I have notes on there. This has the ADC floppy evidence and more. It's running Windows 2000 something, software version used when they did it, etc. So really nice, good information on that. And it gives us some great info to use on that. Now, I'm not going to spend time doing the others, but I will, if I can, I'll put the scripting in the YouTube video so you can see how to script that for all of the different files. So now we've converted the files. We'll pretend we've converted these files. Now we're going to go through and do some data recovery. Now, one of the tools we use for that is Foremost. And if you ever wonder what the options are, you can look over there. And we just go over here and do the Foremost and QVDI, which hopefully will cover what we want. We'll grab that drive ADP, and that should be drive ADP, drive 01 underscore ADP.raw. And we're going to tell it where to put it. And in this case, because we have so much going on, we're going to go put it in its own directory. So we're going to put it in a drive01 ADP foremost. And we'll run that. I'll put a time in front of that and just see how long that took. So it took my system about 0.3 seconds to process that. We have some files now. Now if we look over here, we've got this all nicely sorted. So we have drive01 ADP foremost. We have this and etc. Some other things like that. That's how I use the foremost. And of course, foremost works on raw files. So if we wanted to do the clamp it raw file, we would do it the same way. Now let's go ahead and look at the bulk extractor. So we're going to look at bulk extractor pretty fast, and we're going to do the clamp it file with the bulk extractor. And on that one, we're just going to do the same thing we did before. Actually, I'm sorry. We're going to do the, not the clamp it file. We're going to do the drive01 ADP with bulk extractor. So just do drive01 ADP raw, and then we're going to do a -o there and do that drive01 ADP. In this case, we're going to put bulk, just like that. I'm going to put a time on there. This one will take just a little more time. So it's going to be processing anything it can find for as web URLs or other things inside of there. So that did take 4.8 seconds, about 5 seconds. So let's look at this. And now we've got those two directories. In both of those directories, we have information. So if we look at drive01, ADP, and bulk, we look in there, you can see information inside that. And let's go ahead and process that just a little bit. And if we look at the foremost directory, you can see that we have some recovery there too. So let's go ahead and pop into the drive01 ADP for bulk extractor. And we'll just pull off some information here, like winders. Just do a cat on that and look at the different directories it found and the different files it found and where they were. And of course, we can process these. We can go through and we can awk, or we can pull out just a couple of file names like that. Now, we can also go through and look at the other files in there. There are things like phone numbers and URLs. In this case, telephone txt, we'll get cat telephone txt and see what it captured there. And it said, you know what, I think this is a phone number right here, and I think this is a phone number right there. And of course, as we look at it, you can tell they're bogus phone numbers. We can keep going through, and you can pull off other information. There's, let's see if we've got the email. Oh, there we go, good. So over here we've got email.txt, very small, 654 bytes. So we're not going to be pulling a whole lot out of that. So if you look, there you go. You've got some email addresses in there, and that's how that works. So there you go. That's part 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the exercise, drastically shortened down to only one investigation. Now, of course, if you're looking at the foremost image, then you'll want to go in with something like Nemo so you can check it out. And that way you can actually look at the information inside of that. We'll pull this up over here. The information inside there. So you can look at PDFs if they'll load right there. And we can go through and look at graphic files and see what those graphic files are. And remember, some of these may be using steganography. We're not doing that on this session, so this is not a steganography session, but that's something to keep in mind, that you might have steganography going on. All right, that is it. I want to keep this video really short and just give you a really straightforward view of how this works. So hopefully everything was pretty straightforward for you, and you can use this to grab some commands, at least out of the description. Have a wonderful day.